Storytelling is about presenting a series of events as words, images, and sounds that are of such interest and novelty to an audience that they become fully engaged in their presentation. Stories teach and entertain. Every filmmaker must learn storytelling because the entire basis of filmmaking, of the entire multi-billion-dollar filmmaking industry, is built on the insatiable human desire to experience stories. So, where do you get the inspiration for storytelling? Let's try to find the answer together. Like, subscribe, let's do this. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a 16-year-old boy with a remarkable talent. This picture was taken by this boy in 1945 and sold to a magazine for $25. The same boy would also grow up taking pictures of a shoe shiner gazing up at the flock of birds, another one of a showgirl pulling on lipstick in the mirror. This boy grew up to be one of the most influential filmmakers of all time. Do you know who he was? His name is Stanley Kubrick. Did this short story hold your attention at all? Our brains are hardwired to process and store information in the form of stories. So when we hear that once upon a time, there was a certain character in such a such place, and our minds are immediately transported to this imaginary scene. Let's dive right into some of these things you could be thinking about to draw those stories out of you. How to find inspiration for storytelling. Find your personal story. In his book, The 7 Basic Plots, Christopher Booker finds that there are 7 basic story plots that have universal appeal. These include the story of the hero defeating a monster, the rags to riches tale, someone finding a treasure, the voyage of a hero who comes back as a changed person. These plots are clearly seen in some of the most popular stories ever told. Number 2, find the suspense. Those who love to watch movies or read books know that a good story always has to have a conflict and a plot. These two elements are what make a good story into a roller coaster ride that keeps listeners or viewers at the edge of their seats, asking themselves, what will happen next? Stories like the movies Psycho, Memento, Silence of the Lambs, and Rear Window are great examples of suspense. Number 3, find the life of characters. Characters are at the heart of any story. Their fortunes or misfortunes are what make people want to laugh, cry, or rejoice. The most successful stories were those that created 3-dimensional characters who were easy to identify and at the same time had a common characteristic. In order to do this, you must provide enough detail to bring the character to life in the minds of those in the audience. Take the example of Indiana Jones in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Harrison Ford's whip-cracking, fedora-wearing archaeologist convinced moviegoers that a tweedy academic could also be an adventurer. Number 4, find ways to show and not tell. Instead of telling your audience about a certain event in a story, try showing them by transporting them to a scene. The best example I can give is from Vertical, when Raymond Massey tries to throw Jimmy Stewart out the window. Hitchcock shot this in a bunch of confusing close-ups. A studio exec asked why he couldn't do it with some long establishing shot to make the details a bit clear. Hitchcock said, because when someone is pushing you out the window, the clear details are the last thing on your mind. Think about it. Number 5, find a positive ending. This one is optional. After analyzing 200 of the best TED Talks, presentation expert Akash Karia found that the most effective presentations not only had a conflict and a climax, but also a positive resolution on the path to triumph. Most characters in these stories received what calls a spark, a key piece of wisdom or advice that helped them overcome their obstacles and change for the better. There are films and stories that don't always end this way, but it's worth trying at least once. That's it. I hope some of these points highlighted helped you find some inspiration for your next story. I'd love to know your process for drawing inspiration for your creation of stories. Let me know in the comments below. We're continuing to navigate what it means to tell our story and reach the masses. Join me on this journey to learn the power of storytelling to drive success, growth, and influence. See you next week.